PlayStation has this habit of opening their state of play on the most ballsy, unprecedented announcements possible. Resident Evil 4 Remake was rumored for months and anticipated for years, yet this shit was the opening moment, the prologue, the introduction. There was no prelude to this event, no explanation whatsoever. They opened on the release date, the guitar rising over as the absolute scale, the validity of the concept that is this game takes hold of the viewers as we all realize what we're in for. They didn't reveal much at the time, but damn was it a good announcement. We can only hope it's closer to the extremely high quality that was Resident Evil 2 Remake and farther away from the somewhat disappointing Resident Evil 3 Remake. It already looks beautiful, and I'm very excited to see what this game has to offer. At the end of the announcement trailer, they revealed that PlayStation VR 2 content is in development for this game, which at the time just seemed like an added bonus to an already very exciting package, until I remembered that Resident Evil 4 VR already exists. In fact, it's been out for several months. I can only wonder what they hope to accomplish with VR content in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Will they allow players to play the entirety of the game in VR? Will that addition make the existence of the original RE4 VR pointless? Or will the remake and the original differ so much in experience that they present themselves as two completely different games that can be enjoyed separately as their own creations? I suppose only time will tell.
Now, let's take a look at him. Wow. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Yes, Mother. Yes, Mother.
However, PlayStation did not waste any time revealing more content for their upcoming VR system. They decided it would be best to stick with the theme of Resident Evil for a while, and revealed a VR version of the most recent addition to the Resident Evil series, Resident Evil Village, which is when the live chat realized it would soon be possible to experience the paralyzing euphoria of being choked by Lady Dimitrescu through your own eyes, and they got a bit rowdy, to say the least, but I suppose that's understandable. Witnessing PlayStation VR 2 footage for the first time, my initial impressions are positive. I am shocked by the quality of graphical fidelity that is shown here, although it's entirely possible that they are simply upscaling the quality of the footage for advertisement purposes. I don't have much to say on the gameplay of RE Village VR, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. The gameplay appears very similar to that of the original Resident Evil Village, and that, to me at least, is a positive observation. This game's goal should truly be capturing the gameplay of the original, while adding more immersion, flourish, and player choice, in the same way that RE4 VR did for the original Resident Evil 4. Well, except when Leon's eyes transported multiple feet behind his body, just so he could kick an enemy, or push a shelf. The VR section of this video continued even farther past the Resident Evil reveals and content drops, which was surprising to me. I expected there to be sufficient information on several titles for the PlayStation VR 2, but I definitely wasn't expecting this much. They showed off Chapter 2 of Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, but this game had already previously been revealed, so I don't have much to say about it. Its confirmation for this system is most obviously a positive, but it's surprising to me that there was an abundant amount of VR games at this state of play, yet no actual information on the system present. No details on a price, release date, or even release date window. But back to the actual game, it looks good. The original Saints and Sinners was very mechanically, visually, and narratively impressive, especially as a VR title. It's extremely significant when it comes to the progression and advancement of virtual reality video games, as it definitely raised the standard of the genre entirely. Its sequel looks very faithful to the original whilst adding multiple new interesting mechanics and weapons that should make the game more fun, which is all very exciting to me, as personally, the original Saints and Sinners is my favorite Walking Dead game. Although, to be fair, only one game presents itself as real competition. The others are... they're, yeah. Yeah. The next VR game is No Man's Sky VR, and I literally have absolutely nothing to say about this one. Have you ever played No Man's Sky? Yeah, it's that, but in VR. Anyways, the last game in this VR boss rush section of the State of Play takes place in the Horizon universe, and out of all the VR games here, it's the most visually impressive. It looks impossibly gorgeous. It's unclear whether this game is an actual game or just a short experience, and it's confusing because with insane visuals like this, it seems impossible to make this a full-blown game. But with the game mechanics that are being shown here, it seems much too extra to be classified as a pocket-sized virtual reality experience. It's confusing, conflicting, and a little bit worrying, but whatever this turns out to be, I hope it's enjoyable. In spite of that, my biggest concern isn't whether this is a full-length VR game or a miniature VR experience. It is instead the amount of dialogue this game will have. I was actually planning to make a video on Horizon Forbidden West. It seemed magnificent and I really wanted to do an in-depth analysis of a game that complex. So why didn't I? While the game is long, it's about 20 to 30 hours, give or take, but that's not the reason I didn't make a video on it. The reason is because it feels like there's 60 hours of dialogue in that 30 hours of game. The characters in Forbidden West talk so goddamn much. It feels like most of the game is exposition dump after exposition dump after exposition dump, and I can't skip it because then I won't know what's going on in this story that is completely commanded by the dialogue interactions. And if Horizon Call of the Mountain receives this treatment, it could be catastrophic. The Horizon universe is very intriguing, but minor lore dumps should be placed in notes and trinkets, not pertinent conversations that also hold details on the current story. A VR game where it's most likely the player will be standing. A VR game where the player will need to take breaks more frequently. A VR game where the player could get bored much easier, cannot afford 30-minute exposition dumps. And I'm gonna be honest, it scares me because the characters in this trailer are already flapping their lips a bit too much. Finally, the VR section concludes itself, and out of its shadow rises a port of an already released game. But not just any port, a spectacular, amazing, and dare I say superior port of Marvel's Spider-Man. Oh, and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, but that one got announced through a blog post and not a fancy trailer, because as soon as that game got released, all people could really say about it was, so, when's that sequel coming out? With Death Stranding and God of War already ported to PC, I feel as if the announcement of these games getting ported over as well was an inevitability. Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales are both extremely popular, critically acclaimed titles, and it's great to have them over on PC as well, for multiple reasons like mods and the fact that I finally have an excuse to make that Spider-Man video. Wait, what the fuck am I wearing? The next game is about delivering packages. No, not that one. You see, this one's different because you get to be a cat. How can these environments be both archaic and futuristic? How can these environments be cozy yet monstrous? To be honest, I'm not sure. I'm not entirely positive of what this game is, yet I'm entirely sure it'll be positive. It has this mysterious hope to it. You can see the work that's been put into it as it pours out of your screen and washes over you. The cat seems nimble, agile, and cunning, but is so small in comparison to this colossal, dangerous world. Oh, and it's coming out next month. This is the first game that came up at this state of play that I had genuinely never even heard of before. I had absolutely no idea what this was. I knew it had some obvious Dead Space DNA, but that was about it. Each blood splatter left on the walls of this virtual world was a mystery I didn't understand, and that only made the trailer more interesting to me. I have nothing bad to say about the presentation of this project. It's perfect, at least in the way it's being shown. Wonderfully smooth and perplexingly bloody, it only makes sense that it's being made by the original creators of Dead Space. In 2008, they managed to release something special, a wondrous, iconic, and powerful horror game, and I suspect they're about to do the exact same thing in just a few months. Roller Dome was a strange one, simply because it appeared to be the smallest game here. It seemed unaccompanied by the inconceivable levels of hype that surrounded some of the other games. However, it's a roller skating game. With guns. I feel like every time I watch a state of play, a future game show, or even a fucking E3, there's always these naturally bombastic, cel-shaded indie games. And it's so typical that they get swept under the rug and stepped on by the larger-than-life, critically acclaimed video games that can win the Game Awards by blinking. I forget about them and only happen to rediscover them while searching for a new experience to be wowed by. It's sad, but I think it's the nature of video games, or rather the nature of media. It's the same reason you haven't heard of every single movie, the same reason you've read some books that others haven't. You are standing on a beach, and the wave that's washing over you isn't the same as the wave that's washing over others. All different beaches at different times in different places. I suppose that's not necessarily a bad thing. It adds some sincerity to how we consume. Roller Dome looks so filled with flavor. It moves from frame to frame with its own identity. It's a beautiful seashell, and for my sake, I hope it doesn't get washed away.
Sometimes I wonder if things will ever be normal again.
Eternights is a hack-and-slash action RPG dating simulator that takes place during an apocalypse. So as you can imagine, this is when the PlayStation Live chat checked out. But you don't want to know what those guys think. You want to know what Mozie Fresh thinks. And what does Mozie Fresh think? This game is going to be fucking awesome. It's the debut game for a studio called Studio Psy. They are a fully remote, independent studio, and their developers are working several countries apart. Knowing that information, you have to understand how genuinely ambitious of a debut game this is. In concept, sure, because the game fits into multiple different genres, but also in intended execution. There are multiple fully 2D animated cutscenes. There are dungeons for you to explore. When I look at Eternights, I see elements from many other games I've played before. The developers most obviously love games from the genres they are attempting to seamlessly merge, but more importantly, they've been annoyed by those games. They've witnessed firsthand what works and what doesn't, and this truly comes full circle when you realize all the major characters in Eternights are 18 years old. And if you're confused why I'm pointing out something so minuscule, then you must be greatly unfamiliar with how many games have literal children starring in their dating sims, which can be a very dangerous road to follow. The only thing that doesn't benefit from the studio's wild ambition and genre mixing is this trailer. And when I say that, I don't mean it's a bad trailer, but rather a good trailer with poor communication. The problem is, this is a 1 minute 39-second trailer, and within that time, they have to properly present the hack and slash elements of this game, as well as the dating sim elements, and that, quite frankly, is impossible. I am worried people will judge this game off this trailer alone, when with one quick Google search, you can learn that this game has much more to offer than what this trailer showcases. As off-the-walls crazy as this game may seem for fitting into so many genres, I'm placing all my cards on its side of the table. I am completely betting on it, saying right here and right now, for better or for worse, I desperately believe this game is going to be an absolute zinger, one of the greatest of every single genre it fits in. Another big boy returns. See, this is the inconceivable levels of hype I was talking about earlier. I remember the initial reveal of Street Fighter 6. Capcom made a big, ambiguous event out of it, and because of this, many people actually thought it was going to be the reveal of Resident Evil 4 Remake, but I'm guessing you can piece together how that turned out. Street Fighter V is not at all a fan favorite among the Street Fighter fan base, and it can be difficult to follow up a game that wasn't received well. But like I said previously, this is a big boy game. A Mario, a Zelda, a Super Smash. Wait, why does Nintendo have all the good IPs? The point is, it's harder to sink a ship that is this well crafted, that has been sailing this smoothly for this long. I mean, it would be impossible to ruin a game franchise this popular and beloved. You'd have to realize you've peaked and then proceed to slowly lower the quality of every single title you make and drain your once passion-filled, big-budget AAA franchise into a third-party mundane cash grab for depressed longtime fans and literal children, deep diving the very base of your game company into mediocrity. But that's never happened to anyone before. Although I've spent the past few moments explaining to you how failure in the video game industry works, Street Fighter 6 does not at all look bad. It's a light show, a collection of colors built on the stable foundation of a beautiful series. It's much too early really to say anything about it, but I think it'll be nice. Tunic is the first game since No Man's Sky VR that I have absolutely nothing to say about. It was actually already released on Xbox and PC. All this is announcing is that soon it will also be available on PlayStation. Also, I haven't played it, so yeah, absolutely nothing to say. Have you ever played Tunic on Xbox or PC? Yeah, it's that, but on PlayStation. I remember the first time I saw Season. It was at an earlier state of play. It was a similar feeling to discovering a favorite food or seeing the ocean for the first time. The game's refreshing, and unfortunately for me, after that first encounter, it got swept under my rug and washed away. I forgot about it, not even remembering its title, desperately and vaguely asking people if they knew of the game with the biking lady, which brought me a few funny looks and confused expressions. You can imagine my pleasant surprise witnessing it once more at this state of play. It was like being reconnected with a burning memory. It's another game I don't understand. I don't know anything about it actually, except there's a lady, there's a bike, and I look at it and I go, wow. This game goes beyond the inconceivable hype thing I was talking about before, to a level I cannot even begin to describe. And you can tell that's the case from the title, Final Fantasy XVI. Tell me how many other game series are on their 16th entry in their main series. Yeah, that's what I thought. I don't even know what to say. Not because I have nothing to comment on about the game, but I legitimately don't know where to start. The game looks like it has the biggest budget any video game has ever had, ever. Everything looks crazy. There's these big ass summons fighting each other. The gameplay looks more enjoyable than any previous Final Fantasy game, and maybe, just maybe, they'll get me to care about the voice acting.
I just wish that I could have had you over again. Everyone, with Mom's cooking. I really wanted to believe we could.
Yeah. You owe me a pizza. 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 You owe me a pizza.
Probably not. This was the last game shown at the State of Play, and it was certainly an amazing game to end it on. Out of all the most recent State of Plays, this one seems the strongest, and although there are many other previously announced highly anticipated PlayStation games that weren't touched upon here, this event made up for that with unexpected announcements and details on many other promising titles. I know there's so much we haven't seen yet, but for now, I think I'm satisfied with this. Game advertisement can be a slippery slope of hidden microtransactions and unfinished products, but this State of Play seemed like a genuine display of talent.